You're watching NFL Daily live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Rumble, and it's all presented by True Classic Tees. I'm wearing one right now, and you should be too. They actually fit you properly. Get 25% off your order at trueclassictees.com/chat. Use promo code chat at checkout, by the way, to get that 25% off. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. We'll tell you more about them later on as well. But first, let's talk a little Thursday night football action. Both teams down their number one backs, as we'll get into. No Jonathan Taylor this week for Indianapolis, Nyheim Hines time. Who you got? B for the Broncos or C for the Colts? Let me know in the comment section. No wrong answers. It's just opinion-based here, after all. B for the Broncos, C for the Colts. Lots of B's coming in. Matthew Frey, Chulor, NFL Kid, Miguel, all spamming in their B's early on here. Raiderzilla, going C. That, I think, makes some sense there for a Raiders fan. I'm all for it. Dane Nelson says B in the end. Joshua says T for tie. I would hate it. I hate ties. I think there's very few things that are more un-American than ties. It's just, that's soccer shit, not football, real football. JRM29 says B for the Broncos. Junior says B. Evan Hinders, Max Lane, Brian McCarty, all typing in their C's as Alec G goes with a B in there. So keep those votes coming. Normally, this is the pinned poll on our Wednesday live shows. Who you got for Thursday Night Football? I wanted to go in a different direction in light of the Cole Beasley retirement today and the alleged apparent Tom Brady divorce from Gisele, which I do feel bad about. If you could only pick one of these two, well, it's lighthearted on a rather serious subject, so it's all good. What would you choose? One for family, two for football. This is the pin poll right now on Facebook and on YouTube. But if you could only pick one of these things, which one are you going with? Because Cole Beasley took family. Tom Brady, because he's a football addict, he's the ultimate football guy. Thank you, Jack. He picked football. The guy spent a month with his family and was like, nah, I got to go back. And now, allegedly, reportedly, the two sides, Brady and Gisele, are getting ready for a divorce here, which sucks, no doubt about it. But which one would you choose? One or two? I think JRM's got a good answer here. One, but if I'm Brady, two. Tom Brady, and this is partially why he's been so good for so long, the guy's an addict. All he does is football. That's all he can do. He is addicted to the game. Probably one of the better addictions there in the end. Juan Hernandez says one. NFL Kid says one. Brian McCarty says one. Evan Hinders says one. A lot of people typing in one. Jack, one or two. Jack says one. My wife may be watching, so I will decline to answer my own question for the time being. Chulor says two. We Out Here Entertainment says one. Junior says one as well. I'm not surprised most people taking one. I think that certainly makes more sense. None of us here are actual football players. Brady a little bit different, though, in the end. We'll spend some time today on the Carolina Panthers. Christian McCaffrey trade rumors are back, even though Bleacher Report doesn't understand contracts at all. I'll get into that. And more. Matt Rhule maybe going to get fired soon. Will Matt Rhule, the Panthers head coach and future Nebraska head coach, be the first NFL man among head coaches fired? Y for yes, N for no. NFL Kid says yes. Junior Estrada says yes. Alec G says yes as well. We Out Here says yes. Brian, NFL Kid, Raiderzilla, everyone, even Juan Hernandez too, everyone is spamming their Y's for yes, which I'm not surprised by. Quintavious Jefferson, JRM29, yeses. Rue M, True Allure, Free Little Homie from Alabama, XD Gamer. Every single person has voted Y for yes, and I am very much inclined to agree with that one. Max Lane did too, because it ain't good in Carolina. The stat, as we'll get into, 1-26 under Matt Rhule when opposing teams score more than 17 points against them. That's embarrassing. If you're asking your defense to be a top 5 unit every single game to win games overall, that's not coaching. Somehow, despite all the different coordinators and quarterbacks, the offense is not good. Turns out Ben McAdoo isn't the savior for the offense. Who among us could have foreseen that coming? Evan says Lovie Smith will be fired first. Look, Houston has to win football games at some point. We know that they're probably not going to be that great. That's fine. You got to win some games. Close loss isn't going to get it done there in the end. A super chat coming in. We'll get to that one before our next question here from Emil Pedersen. Thank you very much, Emil. I appreciate that one. I think there will be more games in Europe. I think the NFL is trying to broaden its reach beyond just America. That's why they're playing some games they've played games in Mexico. I think they'll play some games overseas, Europe, England, Germany as well. They're trying to grow. What does make it complicated is the travel. That's not easy on anyone. Any NFL players. I do know they want to try to get more games overseas. It does pretty well. It draws attention. It also allows them to fully dominate the Sunday, right? You can start that kickoff at 9:30 U.S. time or whatever it is. Then you got your 1 o'clock games, your 4 o'clock games, your 7:30 p.m. games. You're able to control the entire day. Maybe what they could consider doing is add a second bye week to the schedule, which I think they should be doing to help their players stay healthy. That's beneficial long term. And then add even more overseas games as they see fit and as makes sense with the schedule. All right, we'll spend some time today on Odell Beckham. Von Miller, I think it's been spun as broke news. Kind of not, but it is still noteworthy. There's more stuff going on around OBJ, who's probably not going to be healthy till end of October, early November. But where do you think Odell Beckham will sign in NFL free agency? Let me know in the comment section. Where does OBJ end up? Junior says Patriots. I'll make note. Beckham's going to sign most likely with a contender. The Patriots, I'm sorry, Jack, are not a contender at this moment. Maybe it's Bailey Zappi season again this week. That'd be fun, I think. I see Cowboys, Bills, Giants, Rams, Vikings. Imagine Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Odell Beckham. What a trio of receivers. Raiders in there. I don't know about that one. Waller. I mean, they're not a contender either, unfortunately. Browns. I don't think he goes back, but wouldn't that be pretty funny? Giants. If they're a contender in a month, maybe. Niners. That'd be fun. Long shot, but my Jags. If the Jags are still good, they're in the AFC South race. Maybe. I wouldn't totally rule it out there. Either LA or NYC. I do kind of think one of those teams. And then I think it's the Giants more than the Jets because they got a lot of receivers. Bills, Diggs, OBJ, Gabe Davis is fun. Cowboys, Giants in there. The Commanders, I think they're just bad. He's going to go to pay him some more money and be a key contributor there and a contender. Packers, Saints, those are two good wins in there. And the Bucks, too, from Peloton. I think that all makes sense. We will spend quite a bit of NFL draft conversation today. There's a new Todd McShay bid board we'll break down, and, well, we'll tease the other part here in a second. But first, name your favorite 2023 NFL draft prospect. It's just your favorite. Doesn't have to be the best. Doesn't have to be a first-round guy. Just your favorite NFL draft prospect. Let me know in the comment section. I see Jalen Daniels, the Kansas QB. I don't know if he's going to be that guy, but I think that's going to be a pretty interesting situation from that standpoint. Jalen Daniels is a fun piece too. Anthony Richardson. Will Anderson is the best one. That makes sense. Jalen Daniels, Mark, is eligible. I don't know if he's going to go pro. Not necessarily the path he ends up pursuing, I would wonder, but it is going to keep in mind. Stetson Bennett from Flame Legend Sports. Anthony Richardson. Sam Hartman. I like that one. Jackson Smith in Jigba. That is the Ohio State. By the way, I'll try to mention the actual, where they're from, etc., because I know that is easy to forget from that perspective, just with other names in there. Richardson's the Florida quarterback. Stetson Bennett is the Georgia quarterback. Bryce Young. Jalen Daniels is the Kansas quarterback, who I have been quite impressed by so far. He's been a pretty big riser this year. I don't know if Daniels will end up going pro, so he's not going to be in my mock draft, but that is a pretty decent name to consider there in terms of whether it's this year or next year, just the growth we've seen so far from that standpoint. Other names I'm seeing coming in here right now. Let's see. I've got Grayson McCall. Devin Leary's eligible too. That's the NC State quarterback, NFL kid. He's eligible. Grayson McCall is Coastal Carolina. Bijan Robinson, the Texas running back. Jordan Travis, the Florida State quarterback. I will say, I've been quite impressed with him so far this year. He's been a nice little player relative to expectations, right? Now, if we get enough likes on today's show, we will do an NFL mock draft at the end of today's live show. We're not remotely close right now. An embarrassing figure of 15 likes. Not very good on that front. So get that changed. If you want an NFL mock draft at the end of today's live show, we need the likes to get going. So if you haven't already, please like the video right now. Otherwise, bosses say I can't do 2 draft segments in one live show. So keep that in mind. Like the video. Got 91 people watching right now. Every single person, about 100 now actually, every single person like the video so we can do that mock draft. All right, as the likes come in, here's what's coming up on today's live show. Lots of NFL news and rumors, not one but 2 NFL mailbags. So again, get your question, just the one, my bad. Get your questions in, hashtag NFL or Super Chat. Helps you skip the line and get up front from that standpoint. So again, hashtag NFL or Super Chat. Todd McShay, big board. And if the likes come in, make sure everyone likes the video. We will do a 2023 NFL mock draft at the end of today's video. You're watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. Today's news and rumors roundup is presented by True Classic Tees. 25% off the best fitting and comfortable and stylish t-shirts and polos you can find at trueclassictees.com/chat. Here's what's coming up in part on today's loaded NFL roundup. The latest on Odell Beckham, some teams linked, some claims from Von Miller, the Tom Brady divorce, how that could impact him on the field since this is a football-based show after all. Christian McCaffrey trade rumors and Matt Rhule hot seat, and some negative and positive injury news on Jonathan Taylor and Commanders running back Brian Robinson. All that's coming up on today's show, but we begin with Aaron Rodgers and the Odell Beckham latest. Rodgers has expressed interest in adding OBJ to the Packers roster, saying they're friends and, it would be fun. The line was, hoping there's a time where you can figure things out and play together. And I'm not surprised by that because you look at what, let's be honest here, what the Packers have at receiver, it's not that great. Oh, by the way, Odell Beckham was also tweeting about Aaron Rodgers in the game this past weekend. Says AR's too fire. Honestly, bro makes look effortless. Then someone responds with, a lot of damage can be done between you two. Odell Beckham says, who you telling? That's different breed right there. He's on board. Odell Beckham is in the midst of his tour, as Von Miller kind of mentioned. Green Bay is a logical destination, I think, for Odell Beckham because, hey, Romeo Doubs made some nice plays. Alan Lazard is a guy that Rodgers liked for a while. I'll be honest, I think Randall Cobb's cooked. He is not the same player he was in his prime. He still offers a little bit there. Christian Watson has not made that impact yet. Amari Rodgers has not been very good either. Sam Watkins is on IR. It makes sense. Or maybe Odell Beckham does a reunion in New York. He's also visited the Giants, although this is technically not an official visit, not a workout. He just happened to be there visiting friends, right? Yeah, he's doing his tour stuff. As Von Miller pointed out today, Odell Beckham is on it's almost like a mini free agency tour, right? He's gone to New York. He was at the Bills-Rams game. He was at the Saints-Bucks game. All teams that actually make quite a bit of sense potentially as destinations for Odell Beckham. Teams like the Ravens and Cowboys could also fit that category given the needs and talent level and impact. Look, Odell Beckham is not going to be healthy until late October or early November. That's your rough time frame there to get Odell Beckham back on the field and probably around when he ends up signing. What teams are contenders? What teams have some cap space? What teams want to promise him a big-time role? He's going to wait, as he should. But you can make those predictions right now. Where will Odell Beckham sign in NFL free agency this year? This is going to be the pinned comments on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, then take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know where you think Odell Beckham ends up signing. Let's talk Tom Brady here. This is, I don't want to be too negative and too personal, but This is a real story around the NFL. Reports have come out that Tom Brady and Gisele have hired divorce lawyers, and maybe this isn't as unfortunate as it is. Maybe this isn't that surprising. Remember, Tom Brady retires. Gisele publicly says, there's been multiple conversations about Brady being around more, which, if your husband and your father of kids isn't around, that's an issue for the wife and mother, as I think most people understand. Brady left in the middle of training camp, right, to spend some time with his family. There was the claim that he was going to skip Wednesday practices, but then he was there at Wednesday practice. He is, by the way, battling a more minor injury. Now this report comes out. I think we know why. Brady is an addict. He is addicted to football. It's what's made him so good over the years that he is singularly driven by his football success. Not everyone's built like that, and that's okay. It's also why Brady's had so much success. Cole Beasley, not built that way. Beasley announced today he's retired effective immediately. Maybe he saw Tom Brady and Gisele and was like, you know what? Nope, I'm out of here. I'm going to go spend time with my family and my kids. It's a personal decision in the end for both Cole and Brady. I'm not going to throw shade either way. Maybe it makes Brady the ultimate football guy in kind of like the parody standpoint. Not wrong. Brady chose football over family, it would appear, based on all these different reports. What would you choose if you could only pick one? It's a little bit lighthearted. Have some fun with it. It's the pin poll on YouTube today, by the way, the live version. 1 for family, 2 for football. Which one are you taking? Let me know in the comments section. Now, if you want to choose between comfort and fit, you don't have to anymore. True classic tees fit great, and they're super comfortable as well. Look good, feel good, play good is my mindset. Use True Classic tees just like I am right now. It fits me here, and especially down here since, as a father, the dad bod's a little bit there these days, which is the unfortunate reality. 25% off your order when you use promo code CHAT over at trueclassictees.com/chat. I'll put that link in the comments section and the description. Go get yours today, the most comfortable and properly fitting shirts and polos you can get out there. Let's talk hot seat now, and that's Matt Rhule. The Panthers are struggling this year, as I think we all are very much aware of. He is the betting favorite to be the first head coach fired, and that is in large part due to this statistic. The Panthers are 1-26 under Matt Rhule when the opposing team has 17 or more points scored. They're actually 10-0 outside. That's kind of crazy, like how good they've been in those situations. When the defense plays like a top 5 unit, like most football teams, they win the football game. But that's not consistent with everything else that's been going on from that standpoint. Matt Rhule has been a disappointment in Carolina. The offense, they have been wholly unable to figure out. New QBs every year, new play callers almost every year. It hasn't worked at all. In fact, it has been every year for a new play caller. And in the end, the buck stops with the head coach. Here's the problem for Matt Rhule. They're not in great shape right now, and the schedule doesn't get easier. The Niners, now on the road, short turnaround. It's not quite a must-win game, but then you've got the Rams on the road in Week 6, the Bucs in Week 7, the Falcons in Week 8, the Bengals Week 9. What's your best-case scenario? 1 win? 2 wins? What happens if the Panthers win one of the next 5 games and drop all the way down to 2-7? That's bad. That's going to get Matt Rhule fired. So do you think that Rhule is the first head coach fired this year? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section. And make sure you guys are subscribed as well. When Matt Rhule gets fired, we'll do some Panthers head coach candidates. We'll do that for all the coaches who ended up getting canned this year across the NFL. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. More Panthers talk here. Christian McCaffrey trade rumors once again back on the menu. Bleacher Report and others are pushing this idea of trading Christian McCaffrey. Now, injuries have been a problem for several years now, but he's played quite well this year and maybe not even utilized enough from Carolina's standpoint there. Now, a trade would absolutely mean a full-fledged fire sale for Carolina. Now, in the Bleacher Report article, they showed once again they have no idea how salary cap and contract stuff actually work. They had claimed $8.8 million cap hit for Christian McCaffrey. That's what it would cost. That is not what it costs anyone to trade for Christian McCaffrey right now. The Panthers restructured his deal this offseason. The savings this year and next year, in the event the Panthers trade away Christian McCaffrey, is $1.04 million this year and $1.12 next year. That is it. The Panthers save nothing in the event they move on from McCaffrey. The new team, and I rounded here, his total cap hit is $1.04 million. It's really $1.04 divided by 17, multiplied by how many games are left because it's just the base salary, so it's 17 game checks, right? Every single NFL team can afford a Christian McCaffrey trade if they want to, because there's $1 million guaranteed of his salary next year for injury only. They can cut him if they want. McCaffrey is easy for a new team to trade for, but there's no money saved by the Panthers. That doesn't really make sense for them unless they want to enter mid-season a full-on fire sale and trade away all their good pieces and enter a rebuilding campaign, which I don't know if owner David Tepper really wants to. It would require a premium pick for Carolina to move on from McCaffrey because they don't save any money. I don't think this is a very likely trade at all, despite what some, it's Jason Locken for, and he's not that great anyway. So what some might want to think. So easy for a team to trade for him, not so much for Carolina to dump him there. What do you think, and be honest with me, is the percent chance the Panthers trade away Christian McCaffrey? Make those analysis answers, that works there, in the comments section right now. Speaking of injured running backs, Jonathan Taylor will not go on Thursday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. He has been ruled out by the Colts. He's battling that turf toe last week, now a mild ankle sprain. Taylor, the number one pick in most fantasy leagues, has not done great. Just a 4.0 yards per carry from that standpoint. It's a bit of a disappointment from that standpoint that he hasn't been nearly, the Colts offense overall, it's not been nearly as impactful. So it's going to be the Nyheim Hines show for Indy in this upcoming game. I would wager one of Devontae Price or Phillip Lindsay, the two practice squad backs on the Colts, also get a game day call-up to help add some depth there. But Hines will be the lead back for Indy in what will be probably a bit more of a passing-focused attack, and that's Hines' strengths anyway. So no Taylor and no Javonte Williams on Thursday Night Football between the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. Who do you think will end up winning this game? B for the Broncos and C for the Colts. Let me know right now in the comments. Finally, some positive injury news here. Brian Robinson, the running back for the Commanders, who of course was shot in late August, he is back at practice. This is awesome for Brian Robinson, and I'm very happy that he's already able to make this fast recovery from that shooting, which he was the victim of. Great news for the Commanders, great news for Robinson. I just wanted to give him some love here on NFL Daily. Let's go back to controversy. It's been a debate in my household before. Is coffee good? Why for yes and for no? Jack, do you like coffee at all? Yeah. I hate coffee. I think it's disgusting. I refuse to touch the stuff. I have no desire to add coffee to my consumption. Flame says yes. Heisenberg says yes. Chris says yes. XD Gamer says I'm not an adult. I don't think adults like coffee. But people tell me, it's an acquired taste. So I have to suffer through not liking it to then like it? No, not a fan there. Alec SM says yes. Jared says no. Shelly says no. Gandalf says no. True Allure says no. Vince says no. I don't like coffee. I'm not a fan. I don't think it's good at all. Jim says hell no. That's my guy. Mark, why are we talking about coffee? It seems random. Yes, it is, but something that's nice to just take a break from the NFL talk for a moment. If we want to get back to NFL talk, a reminder, folks, if you want a new NFL mock draft at the end of today's live show, then you got to like the video right now. Less than half of you, by a pretty darn good margin, have actually liked today's video. It's time to get that changed. If you want an NFL mock draft at the end, a new, fresh from me, 2023 NFL mock draft. If you want that, you got to like the video right now. So like it, or not going to be a mock draft today. Today's NFL Daily is sponsored by True Classic Tees. Get yourself 25% off T-shirts like the one I'm wearing right now at trueclassictees.com/chat. Today's video is a look at Todd McShay's latest 2023 NFL Draft Big Board, 1 to 32. We'll go a little bit quicker early on since these are more of the household names. And there were some big changes, by the way, in the back end of Todd's ranking. Some very much new introductions there. Will Anderson, still number 1. He's back up to 5 sacks this year. He's got 11 tackles for loss, a bunch of pressures. He remains, and honestly, he could have turned pro last year and been the number 1 pick in last year's draft class as far as I'm concerned. Anderson, correctly, I think, the number 1 player here. Now, we're talking Todd McShay mock draft right now. If you want Todd McShay big board, if you want a mock draft from me, who historically, it's just facts, don't want to be too braggy here, but it's true, is more accurate in their mock drafts than Todd McShay, then like the video. Right now, if we get enough likes, we'll do a new mock draft for you guys here at Chat Sports. More defenders on here for Mr. McShay. Jalen Carter, who is banged up right now, and the raw stat numbers have not really popped off the screen the way we were hoping they were this year. He's battled injuries right now. He is very much a film over production guy. Carter is very talented. 2 might be a bit high after a slow start to the year, but he's going to be a premium pick. Let's talk quarterbacks now. C.J. Stroud, the Ohio State quarterback, is number 3, and Bryce Young is number 4 out of Alabama. Young, by the way, is a bit banged up right now with that shoulder injury. Young is a much more slender player than C.J. Stroud is. He's able to make some awesome plays under pressure. Stroud, I do think, benefits from a more dynamic supporting cast around him. That will be the Stroud-Young debate, even with Bryce a bit banged up right now, is not going to go away anytime soon. Number 5, Bijan Robinson, the running back out of Texas. The guy is unbelievable. There are still some pass rush or pass protection stuff to improve on, but every time he touches the football, he's getting more than what is blocked. That is the sign of a great back. Myles Murphy, the Clemson defensive end, part of a very strong Clemson, I'll say front 7 right now. Very good toolbox there for Murphy. That's what McShay wrote, and I very much agree there. They drop into coverage some. I don't like that. A very strong edge rushing class. Murphy's one worth keeping an eye on for. And Will Levis at number 7. This one might be the most controversial of the group. Levis is very much still a tools prospect, more so than like he does everything right, that the production, the consistency is there right now. He's got the arm. I like his release. The accuracy can come and go. The ball placement isn't the best. There are some rough moments under pressure. Upside, probably higher than Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. The floor is also much, much lower, I would argue. So of the big 3 QBs right now, pick one for me. C.J. for Ohio State's C.J. Stroud, B.Y. for Alabama's Bryce Young, or W.L. for Kentucky's Will Levis. This is the pinned comment on today's video, so if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and pick a QB. Brian Brzee, next up here, the Clemson defensive tackle. The production has never quite been there for Brzee at Clemson in his entire career. I'm hopeful that can change a little bit at some point this season, but this is, again, a traits-based prospect who can be a very dynamic 3 technique or 5 technique on the interior. Jordan Addison. Maybe you haven't watched that much USC since that's, Pac-12 After Dark. That USC offense is unreal, and Addison and Caleb Williams are torching every defense that they face. It's been wildly impressive so far. He's jumped the other 2 top receivers we'll get to in a little bit. Michael Mayer, the tight end now from Notre Dame. I don't know if he's a top-end Kyle Pitts athlete. In fact, I know he's not. But he consistently gets open. He's a solid blocker. He's great after the catch. He's got great hands. He breaks tackles. He is the engine that drives the entire Notre Dame offense. I love watching him play. He's one of my favorite guys this year. In what is shaping up to be a not-so-great offensive line class, Paris Johnson has had success since moving from guard to left tackle this year. This is not based on positional value for McShay. Could result in Johnson going earlier, but just overall players. That's why the running back's 5, right? Johnson, though, as a blocker, could very well be the first tackle taken in this year's draft, even though it is only October. Today's show is made possible by our good friends over at True Classic Tees. I'm wearing one today, and you guys should be too. They look great, they feel great, and you just end up performing better. And whether it's on the field, at work, off work, at the bars, on the golf course, whatever, True Classic Tees are the best t-shirts and polos out there. Get yours today, a whole bunch of them, 25% off when you use trueclassictees.com/chat as your URL and promo code chat on top of that. I'll put both of those, URL and the promo code, in the comments section and in the description. Keely Ringo, the Georgia corner, number 12 on this list. Of course, the big interception in the national title game last year. Good speed, good size. I think he's still a little bit of a developmental piece overall, but the size-speed combo is tantalizing, and, Georgia defensive draft pick is probably a pretty good process there. Next up is Notre Dame edge rusher Isaiah Foskey, who 6'5", 265, the listed size there. I have a little bit of concern with the overall bend that he offers. I think he's got a good run defense ability, has good strength, and I think more often than not we tend to overlook the value of a strength-based edge, like a George Karlaftis, for example, because it's harder to find those bendy guys coming around the corner. Andre Carter has slowed down this year, 15.5 sacks last year. He's down to 2 in 2022, but he's got a bunch of pressures, great size. It is very, very rare for an Army player to be in the first-round conversation, but Carter is. Nolan Smith out of Georgia. He's next up here. A couple sacks, a couple TFLs for a Georgia team that loves to rotate players. More of your 3-4 outside linebacker. Again, that's why I don't know why McShay does it. Outside linebacker. He's a pass rusher. He's an edge. It's 2022. We should get with the program, but I digress. Smith, no problems there at 15. I've mostly agreed, maybe some edge disagreements here. Kayshon Boutte, the LSU wide receiver, has been non-existent this year. In the words of producer Jack and a lot of people I know, he's been booty, and not in the fun way. He is a very dynamic player, but we're talking about someone who has not produced in the way that he should be producing, and that should raise some red flags. Now, Jackson Smith-Njigba has an excuse. He's been injured as of late. He's only run like 30 routes so far this year. 2 games, hamstring injury. We saw what he did last year. I wouldn't be that worried about JSN. Check back in November, December. I think he'll be balling on like we saw him do last season. So pick a wide receiver for me. The big 3, if you will. JSN for Jackson Smith-Njigba, JA for Jordan Addison, or KB for Kayshon Boutte. Peter Skoronski, next up here. It's kind of a lesser version of the Rashawn Slater conversation here, where, Skoronski is not the largest guy in terms of his arm length. He's a bit more undersized on that standpoint there. He's 18 on Todd McShay's big board. I think that's about right. Again, he's allowed 2 sacks or over his career. That's pretty solid production overall. The Nebraska game, by the way, I thought he was an absolute baller in that particular matchup. Very impressed with him from that standpoint. So I like Skoronski quite a bit. He and Paris Johnson, the pretty clear main options there in terms of your offensive linemen early on in the 2023 NFL Draft. Let's talk Cam Smith now, the South Carolina corner. It hasn't been the most dynamic this year, but he's been solid, been steady at this point. I like what he does. Pretty quality class here. I would actually put number 20, Joey Porter Jr., over him. Yes, that is Joey Porter's son. Now, he's not a great tackler. I don't care. It's a corner. Great size. Plays really well in zone coverage. Plays some press man, too. Lot to like about Joey Porter Jr. Several more names coming up, including some big changes. The top 20 were, I think, all on McShay's earlier version. Who is your favorite NFL draft prospect? Let me know right now in the comment section. This is where things really change for McShay with his rankings. Cedric Tillman, I love putting in here. He's got to miss some time with an ankle injury. That's kind of knocked him a little bit there. He's not a true burner. I think this is the best Tennessee receiver we've seen in a very long time. Over other draft picks like Juwan Jennings, Velus Jones, Tillman, I'm not sure I'm all the way in on top 25, but I love what he's done so far at Tennessee. John Michael Schmitz, I really like this inclusion by McShay. Not someone really on anyone's radar nationally, I don't think, beyond McShay here. 2,000 snaps, no sacks, and 6 pressures. This is a high-end, zone blocking scheme offensive lineman. If you want a center, I think this is the guy to keep an eye out for. Another one of my favorite receivers, Quentin Johnson out of TCU. I'm kind of alone on this comp, but I'm going to stick with it. He's skinny Dez Bryant. Wins the ball at the catch, great body control, great after the catch. Not the highest end burner, but fast enough with his size and ball skills to be a vertical threat in the NFL. This one might be too low from Todd. Christian Gonzalez was kind of under the radar when he transferred from Colorado to Oregon. Then Dane Brugler pointed him out and was like, oh, yeah, this guy's actually good. Had his first INT this year. Again, there's a common thread among a lot of these top corners. You've got great size and great length. That is what NFL teams are coveting in the modern day NFL. Now, if you want more NFL, college football, NFL draft, NBA, and even NBA draft coverage, this is your one-stop shop here. Hit that subscribe button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. I won't lie, I was surprised that Keanu Benton cracked McShay's top 25. I think that one is a little bit too optimistic from that standpoint. I haven't been in love with this play. Definitely a draftable guy, but I would say maybe more top 55 than top 25. So that's the one I really don't agree with here from McShay. Love Antonio Johnson here. This is your modern-day overhang, big nickel defender that's so popular at the collegiate level. Great size, great playmaker. I really like Johnson as the number one safety, quote-unquote, in this year's class. Kind of feel like McShay forced back-to-back linemen here, but I think they're good linemen to go with here as teams will cover them. Jalen Duncan, who I know has been mentioned before in the comments section of this channel, out of Maryland, I think a better pass protector than he is a run blocker, also benefits from that style of offense at Maryland. Good size, though. If you want to run that quick passing game offense, there's a lot to like here from this standpoint. Osiris Torrance, a right guard, Louisiana Lafayette to Florida. If you want a mauling, run-blocking right guard, I think Osiris Torrance is that guy. And in general, we don't see that many guards go early. So if you want one, this is a good name to keep an eye out for. I think a little high for me. Maybe the biggest riser of the entire 2023 NFL draft, of anyone, is Jared Verse. From Albany to Florida State, and he's got a bit banged up as of late, 4 sacks, 9 pressures through 4 games, bullied LSU, put himself on the radar. I'm happy Verse made this list. Noah Sewell, who I have some concerns about overall in terms of just like trusting him in coverage and overall elite top-end speed, but I think 30 is about the right range for him. This is, by the way, Penei Sewell's brother. I'm happy to report Tyree Wilson made this list, by the way. Texas Tech defensive end. The people who do the NFL like combine rankings, I forget what they're called exactly. I'll put it in the description though. They really like Wilson, so he's on the NFL radar for sure. 5 sacks, 8 TFLs, 16 pressures. Under the radar because it's Texas Tech, he's awesome. And then Derek Hall, who is a pure edge all the way, got some burst. I don't love him as a run stopper, kind of a pass rush specialist there, but he's been quite productive so far from Auburn. Again, early results. Look at all those defensive ends, outside linebackers. A really good pass rushing class, I suspect, this year. Now, there are only 32 names on that list, so somebody had to be left off it. Or somebodies, I should say. Who do you think was disrespected in the Todd McShay big board here? Let me know in the comments section. I've got some names I'll mention. I think the really big miss was Clark Phillips out of Utah. I love his game. I think he should be more of a top 20 player, not just a top 32 player. As we sit in October, things can change. Felix Anudike Uzama, FAU for short, from KSU. Awesome edge rusher, but there were a lot of guys on this list, so I get it there. Trenton Simpson, quite impressed by him as of late. The Clemson linebacker, good football player. Keandre Coburn, under the radar, has been awesome for Texas. I like Jervin Dexter as well from Florida. Tyreek Stevenson, the Miami Hurricanes corner, has flashed some. I'll mention quarterback Tanner McKee. I know the NFL likes him. I'm not as high on him. Another offensive lineman to consider is Blake Freeland for BYU. We saw Blake Christensen go pretty early. Freeland might be better. Josh Downs, the next best receiver left off that list. Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama, the explosive big play threat for the Crimson Tide. I'll make note of Darnell Washington. He has been way better than Eric Gilbert, who can't even get on the football field. And one last name here, Olu Oshuanu, the Penn State offensive tackle. Big riser this year. Keep an eye on that name for the 2023 NFL Draft. All right, folks, if you want a new NFL mock draft, we need you guys to like today's videos. Otherwise, the bosses say, no, we're not going to do it. So if you want that mock draft, get those likes going right now. Now, we will do a mailbag before we get the final call to do our mock draft here. If you have questions, get them in the comment section right now. There are 2 ways to get your questions answered on the show, and we can still do a meals super chat, by the way, Jack, as part of it. I'm fine with that. Either A, use hashtag NFL. That puts you in the queue. Let's producer Jack. Okay, I'm going to do this question, but you're at the mercy of Jack picking your questions. So sometimes he picks them, sometimes he doesn't. If you want to get your question answered no matter what, then super chat. Those are your 2 paths to getting your questions answered here on NFL Daily. So get all your questions in. Hashtag NFL or by super chatting just like my boy Emil did here on NFL Daily Live. You guys are watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, and it's a mailbag. I have a lot of fun doing these. I love answering your guys' questions on free agency, draft trades, games, you name it. Happy to do it here on NFL Daily. And a super chat to begin. Emil Pedersen. Do you think there will be more games in Europe? I think what the NFL should do is add a bye week. Add an extra bye week. Make sure these guys are healthy. Avoid injuries. Makes your product better, by the way. Adds an extra week of TV deals, right? It's a huge boon for the NFL standpoint there. And then you can add more, away games. You can add another European game. Germany, England. You can go play in Mexico. Whatever you want to do. That's obviously, Mexico's not Europe, but more international games. I think that makes sense for the entire NFL. Another super chat from Shane Curry. Will the Saints turn around the season? And if so, how will they? I think the Saints, if we're being honest, have really been a pretty big disappointment so far this year. I mean, you think about what they've done, right? You barely lose to the Vikings. You lose to the Panthers. You score 10 points against the Bucs, and you barely beat the Falcons. Folks, they're 8 points away because they almost blew that Week 1 game from being in really rough shape at 0-4. Now, the schedule, I think, for New Orleans is manageable here. Seahawks, Bengals, Cardinals, Raiders have not looked that good. You got to get hot. You need better quarterback play. I think it's clear you miss Sean Payton. Your defense is still doing a pretty decent job overall. You need to score more points. 14 against the Panthers, 10 against the Bucs. Look, 25 was probably enough. You got to have a more sustained offensive success. Maybe getting back Alvin Kamara will benefit them. From the NFL Kid, will the Panthers reverse what happened last year? Instead of being bad late in the season, we start being good and make the playoffs late in the year. By late in the year, I mean after week 5. So, I know what you mean there. Is there any confidence in that? Like, the offense doesn't look very good. The schedule is not that easy down the stretch here. There's clearly just some bad quarterback play, bad play calling. Still, the O-line is bad. Like, you're putting Ike Mekwonu on an island against premier pass rushers. It just doesn't make sense. Like, Ekwonu needs time. I don't think the scheme's very good. It's one of those things where no one's helping each other. Ground game's not helping enough because the way you run it, your coordinator's not helping your quarterback and vice versa. It's pretty messy right now. Just feels like a disjointed team that's going to end up firing their coaching staff soon, which I know is not what you want, NFL Kid, but I think that's what's going to happen there. From Elon Husk, will the Giants trade Kadarius Toney? I mean, can he stay healthy enough to pass a physical? Like, Tony's in a really weird spot. There were the trade rumors. I'll go rumors, I guess, in the end. About like, the Giants want to trade him. And, do they really want to? It's a first-round pick. He's been injured. They draft Wan'Dale Robinson to play a very similar role as him. It's a weird situation. I'm going to go with no, not this year. But if he makes no impact this year, next year, it's a new regime, maybe. All right, what I want you guys to do right now, we saw obviously Shane's a Saints fan. We saw NFL Kid's a Panthers fan. I want to hear from you guys watching on demand right now. Who is your favorite NFL team? Let me know in the comments section. It's the pinned comment on today's video. So go down there, spam your favorite team. From Y Big Jordan, speaking of Panthers fans, does Baker get benched this year or this week? I think so. Here's the problem for Carolina. We also know PJ Walker isn't it. I would wonder if it's Baker deserves blame here. It's not like Ben McAdoo's a great play caller. Darnold's not back yet, not that he's any upgrade. So I'll go with no, but I could also see it's a blowout in the fourth quarter, and they sit the starters anyway. That could very well be an option there in the end. XD Gamer, Odell going to the Bills or Ravens? You can choose one. All right, so where does Odell Beckham sign? I think the Ravens would be such a good fit for him. Like, you've got Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. Like, the Ravens have a more obvious need at wide receiver, and I feel like Lamar and Odell could form a really good duo. I would love to see him in Baltimore, but I also wouldn't rule out teams like the Packers, the Saints, if they end up getting things back on track a little bit, and plenty of others, the Giants even, in the mix. So it's a good question, XD. I think we'll know more in a month-ish where Odell Beckham will end up going. Now, today's show is made possible by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Trying to make some money betting on games. I finally hit one of my parlays. Hit it this past weekend. Felt good. I'm back in the black for the first time all year. But I got a ton of leftover money because I used BetUS. They gave me a 125% deposit bonus because I put down $100 at chatsports.com/bet. And I use promo code NFL Daily. Again, $100 down, 125% deposit bonus. Some NFL MVP odds. They've changed every single week, and a big gap here. Allen, plus 275. Hurts, plus 450. Lamar, 500. Mahomes, plus 550. Then Justin Herbert, way down there, plus 1,400. Very clear 4 frontrunners right now. I'll tell you what, I kind of like the Jalen Hurts line. If the Eagles keep winning games, exceeding the expectations where they have, just prime contender there. A super chat from Merle Garrett. Should the Commanders trade Montez Sweat? I don't hate that idea, or trading Daron Payne. I will say this, though. If you trade away a guy like Montez Sweat, who's one of your best pass rushers on your roster, and with the first-round pick you invested in him, you're kind of acknowledging that you're selling. And if you sell this year, even though I know Sweat has 0 sacks, but he's been productive previously in his career. If you sell, does that mean you're kind of like going to fire Ron Rivera? Like, he built this roster. He's heavily involved in trading away players. If you trade Sweat, that makes it tougher to win football games. You might get yourself fired. So I think it's a lot. Like, teams should call the Commanders about Sweat, Daron Payne, etc. I don't know, though, if they're going to start selling Montez Sweat. From Vince, which contender has the most potential for improvement until playoff time? Browns, Cowboys, Packers, Chiefs, others? I think the two that should really stand out here are the two that don't have their starting quarterbacks available. Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson, Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott. Yeah, Brissett and Rush have fared at least good enough in their absences, but I think we all, if we're being real here, all know that the starting quarterbacks have proven significantly more over their NFL careers. Those two teams stand out to me. I think the Ravens have an untapped level on offense still. Maybe you close some games out a little bit better. They've lost some close ones. If Green Bay can unlock their passing game by adding a receiver, that takes them to a new level. I think the Chiefs and Bills are like pretty close already as it is. Topeka for life. Who says no? Cooper Rush trade for Carson Wentz. Honestly, the Cowboys do. Like, I think it's very clear. What we've known for years, Wentz ain't it. the Cowboys are not going to take on a $22 million contract for Carson. That's a terrible idea for them. If the Commanders go full sell mode, though, hey, Cooper Rush is vet min. You save like 12 or 18, whatever it is, $1 million, depending on when you trade Carson Wentz. So I know you're kind of trolling there, but like factoring in the contract, Rush is the better asset because he's not a negative asset. So seriously, okay, how about we ignore the contract? Who's better, Cooper Rush or Carson Wentz? CR for Cooper Rush or CW for Carson Wentz? Now, we are live on Wednesdays. We're back live again, Red Zone this week on Sunday. My boy Mitchell Renz has you covered. If you want free videos, hit that big red button and subscribe at youtube.com/chatsportstv. Jared TG, expectations for Bailey Zappi. I almost want to let Jack answer this one. Game manager, Case Keenum type stuff. Like that's like high-end expectations. Like, don't turn the football over. Be very accurate. Run the football. Hit play action. He's got great touch. The arm strength is lacking. So if the first read's open, there's going to be some success there for Bailey Zappi. Wins, being the next Tom Brady is asking for way too much, but show you can be a backup QB. That'd be a big win for the Patriots, I think, for Zappi too. Miguel, can the Bills trade for Saquon Barkley? If the Giants continue to, if the Giants bottom out, which they haven't yet, if they bottom out come the November 1st or 2nd, whatever it is, trade deadline, then maybe. But, Barkley is that offense right now. He is carrying them, and Daniel Jones scrambles too. Barkley is the offense. They're kind of trying to win football games right now. So the Bills are a logical fit, but I don't know if that means they're going to end up trading for Saquon. Because I know the Giants are going to move Saquon Barkley at this point. They've had success there from that standpoint with him on the ground. He looks back, really, really, truly does look back. Assets high. If they're not going to pay him and they bottom out, then it starts to make some sense there. So question for you guys now. Name a player, whether it's Saquon Barkley or someone else, who you want to see traded. Let me know in the comment section. SM, Allen Robinson was a bad signing by the Rams. So far, yeah. He's not getting targets. He's not getting open. Matthew Stafford will only throw to Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. They paid him a good amount of money to have no impact right now. So it could change. Yes. So far, bad signing. The Elites, Colts trade 3 first-round picks and Matty Ice for Baker and Christian McCaffrey and make a playoff push. Why would they do that? This feels like a Panthers fan trolling. 3 first-round picks and the better quarterback for Baker, Mayfield, and Christian McCaffrey. Look, Matt Ryan's not been great. Got bad pocket presence right now. But that's a horrible deal for the Colts, so I kind of suspect the Elites just having some fun. Cujo, are the Chargers still contenders even with all the injuries? Yeah, I think they are. Now, it's going to be tough. You need to get Keenan Allen healthy. Very impressed by Jamarie Salyer, the rookie who got the start left tackle there. It's going to be tough, but they have Justin Herbert. As long as he's healthy, honestly, when you have that top 10, top 5, top 7, whatever quarterback, you should be a playoff contender every year. From B, who do you blame for the Raiders' pathetic start? Predict the Raiders' record. Look, I'm going to blame the organization, and that's really Dave Ziegler, the GM, and Josh McDaniels, the head coach, because you were a playoff team last year, which was maybe a bit of a fluky playoff team. You rallied really well. You overhauled the defense. Hasn't been that great. And then you blow a game against the Cardinals. You have adopted the Patriot way. And the Patriot way has never worked outside of New England. It is over every time someone gets hired and goes full Patriot way. But the Raiders played really well down the stretch last year. They were this far away, literally, from beating the eventual AFC representatives in the Super Bowl. So you were close. You add Devontae Adams. You kind of shred your own offensive line. I don't trust the moves this team has made overall. So that's why I blame the McDaniels-Ziegler duo. I'll go they rally and finish with 7 wins this year. Hopefully that ends up being the case, but we'll see. Speaking of disappointing teams so far this year, the Broncos and the Colts. Who you got on Thursday Night Football? B for the Broncos, C for the Colts. Let me know in the comments section. Denver lost Javonte Williams. Mr. Unlimited has become Mr. Limited and Russell Wilson. Their coaching staff has been a big-time issue. They're still 2-2. They found ways to win football games. And the Colts are a miracle win and maybe a lucky win over the Chiefs away from being winless and going, are they going to fire everyone? Maybe. That regime is not quite committed to finding their young quarterback the way they should be doing. That's a bit of a red flag there. A lot of B's in there. XD Gamer, Cujo, Vince, Truelore, SM, Heisenberg going C, though, and Night Labyrinth going B. All right, last chance. Like the video right now. If you want a new NFL mock draft, like the video for me. Let's get the likes flowing here. I'll give some more shout-outs for the BC answer. Give you guys a minute on the clock. See if we can get to our like threshold here. Otherwise, we're going to end the stream, go home, and I'll do the mock draft next week. That's what the bosses have told me. So get the likes in there right now. I'm going to look away from the like number. We need more. Get it going, guys. And then we'll check out some recent votes here. Mark types in tie for Colts Broncos. That's kind of funny to me. Christopher Slaughter says B. Night Labyrinth says B. SM says C. Shane Curry says C. Jamie Kincaid, C. So earlier when we did this poll, it was almost all B's for the Broncos. Now, things are a little bit different from that standpoint, which I do find quite interesting with the changes on that side. So get your answers in, B or C. We did just barely get to enough likes, so we'll do the mock draft here. It was close. Hoping for better results next time, guys. So keep likes coming, and we'll do my new mock draft. The NFL and college football seasons are kind of a quarter of the way through. It's kind of loosey-goosey since the math doesn't work anymore for the NFL with the expanded schedule. But it is time for a new, updated, fresh, brand new 2023 NFL mock draft. And if you want more mock drafts and more NFL draft coverage, we got to show the bosses here at Chat Sports. Share this video. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Text it to a buddy. Click the share button and send it away so we can do even more mock drafts in the future. While you share it, by the way, I will make note, the draft order today is based on the Chat Sports 2023 updated NFL or 2022 updated NFL power rankings entering week 5. So don't blame this video for the rankings. I'll put the link in there for the order, but that's what it's based on. So blame the power rankings, not just me. We begin with pick number 1, the Houston Texans. I mean, they're winless. That makes sense, right? Now, if I've been underwhelmed by Davis Mills so far, I'll buy him a little bit more time and go with the general consensus number 1 player in this year's class, Will Anderson, the edge out of Alabama. Number 2, this is the Carolina Panthers. Got them taking C.J. Stroud. I know there are some Matt Golden Corral truthers, but if you're drafting number 2 and both QBs are there, you got to take one. At number 3, Bryce Young out of Alabama. These 3 players are your heavy betting favorites, by the way, to be the first player taken in this year's draft class. I actually like Young more than Stroud early on. I still got to do a full, true, in-depth film study, but that's where I'm at. Young's a bit undersized. Man, he makes some awesome moves. We'll see when he gets back on the field, by the way, since he's a bit banged up right now. So of these 3, or someone else, who ends up going number 1? Type in WA for Will Anderson Jr., BY for Bryce Young, CJ for CJ Stroud, or type in O for other. Let me know in the comments section. I will make this question the pinned comments on today's video. So if the ad break comes in here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, WA, CJ, BY, O for other, bonus points if you tell me who that other person is. For the most part, Jalen Carter, the Georgia defensive tackle, has been viewed as the next best consensus player here in the draft order. I think the Raiders, I love a tackle. I don't love the options, and they do need an interior defensive tackle, by the way, to really elevate that defense. I think Carter would thrive in Vegas. The Eagles, this pick, by the way, via the New Orleans Saints. So since the Eagles are picking 32 in this, or I guess 31 with the 4-footed pick, they're not going to go QB. It's the Saints pick. How about Myles Murphy? Get another young, promising pass rusher in there as that team continues to focus on the trench play. Keely Ringo, number 6, the Steelers. Again, I don't love the offensive lineman here, so I'll go Ringo, though I'll get to a lineman later on. I just think it's not a great class. Dan Moore's shown some promise. A number 1 corner is needed, and Ringo has the upside to be just that. The Jets need more pass rush. Help out Quinnen Williams and hopefully Jermaine Johnson down the road. The rest of the group has not been that impressive. Nolan Smith is kind of that more dynamic edge coming around the corner, a bit undersized, can play that kind of 3-4 outside linebacker, 4-3 defensive end hybrid role there. Smith's a fun piece, and it's not an accident. There are 3 Georgia defensive players in the top 7. Go figure, right? Number 8 is Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback, who I know is well-liked around the NFL, even if, despite the great arm strength and mobility and upside, the consistency is still not there. So I want you guys to be honest with me on this one. Do you believe in Will Levis? Y for yes, N for no. Be honest with me in the comments section. Here's our first lineman. This is your Isaiah Wynn replacement. Paris Johnson Jr. of Ohio State. Played guard, now tackle, has done a good job for Ohio State. I don't think receiver is the route they'll go, but we'll see on that front there. Number 10, Bijan Robinson, the Atlanta Falcons, the pick here out of Texas. Doesn't this make sense? Wouldn't the Falcons, who want to run the football so badly, take the best running back prospect we've seen since Saquon? And Robinson, by the way, is an absolute baller. I love him. This just comes down to positional value, and that will determine where he ends up going in the end. You've seen the Lions' defense, right, folks? It's not great. How about an interior pocket pusher, some dynamic 3 techniques, and Brian Brzee out of Clemson? It is still more of a traits-based pick than production-based pick, but there is a lot of talent for the former 5-star defensive tackle. Peter Skoronski, Northwestern tackle to the Colts for the quote-unquote highest paid offensive line. They sure as hell aren't playing like it because their weak points are really, really bad. Skoronski has got some short arms. Some teams will view him as a guard, some as a tackle. I'll put him in at left tackle for Indy. If you want to bet on the NFL, on college football, and yes, on the NFL draft, do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code NFL Daily gets you a 125% deposit bonus when you put down at least $100. They've got, by the way, bettable as we speak, number 1 overall pick odds. CJ Stroud, plus 150. Bryce Young, plus 200. Will Anderson, plus 325. Paris Johnson, the tackle, 850. And Will Levis, plus 1,200. Let's go to CJ Stroud's teammate, Jackson Smith-Njigba. The Bears very clearly need to build a better passing game, and Jackson Smith-Njigba will help them do that. You're picking 13. It's not quarterback range. You take a receiver, help give Justin Fields more than just Darnell Mooney and not much else in the passing game. Isaiah Foskey, next up here, Tennessee. I think Bud Dupree's going to get cut. Harold Andrews coming back off of injury. Rashad Weaver's shown some promise. Getting another edge piece, I think, will help them quite a bit. Andre Carter now, the Army edge rusher to Arizona here. You know, you lose Hassan Reddick. They've never quite replaced him the way they should. Arizona loves to go the PFF route. They like Andre Carter this year. Seattle, this pick via Denver, by the way. I want a better linebacker than Cody Barton. How about Trenton Simpson, who can do a lot of fun things for you in coverage as well? Simpson to the Seahawks here. Their second first-round pick, they went Will Levis at number 8. Michael Mayer, the tight end. I love this fit. Evan Ingram is not it. We all know that. Doug Peterson's seen what great tight ends can do in Philadelphia. You put Michael Mayer together with Trevor Lawrence. I think that duo is going to be awesome. All right, Houston pick 18 via the Browns here. Jordan Addison. You got Brandon Cooks. Nico Collins continues to not quite be what I think you want. John Mechie will be a piece next year, but if you want to see if Davis Mills is your guy, you got to get more offensive talent. You just missed out on Michael Mayer. Again, I don't love the linemen this year. Addison's been balling for USC. Let's ride with Addison, Cooks, and Mechie and see what the Texans can make happen. Who is your favorite 2023 NFL draft prospect? Let me know right now. Literally no wrong answers, by the way, in the comments section. Oregon corner Christian Gonzalez. Next up here, Colorado transfer. Teams don't throw at him. That's a good sign of how good he actually is. This next one was too fun to pass up. Joey Porter, son of the Steelers legend, going to the Bengals, their division rival, their hated rival. Look, Eli Apple's still starting. Probably not what you want. Chidobe Awuzie's fine. Add a potential number one corner who has played awesome, especially early on this year. I love that fit in Cincinnati. I'd love a lineman, but again, it's just not a great grouping, and I kind of forced lineman for our next pick at 21. Before that, though, for the best NFL coverage, we'll be live for every single day, free agency, like draft free agency, all of it. This is your best spot for NFL draft coverage on YouTube. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe today. All right, I forced a lineman pick here, but the Chargers are in dire straits of help here. One of the biggest risers this year out of Penn State, Olu Fashuanu, the Penn State offensive tackle, really impressive, a very small sample size still. Do not sleep on that name. Cam Smith, let's double dip. We went trench player on defense round one. Let's go secondary player with their other first-round pick. This one from the Rams, by the way. Cam Smith, fun football player out of South Carolina. I did this one just for my boy with the fans. John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Minnesota. You can play Connor Williams at guard where I think he still belongs. Michael Schmitz has been awesome for the Golden Gophers this year. First round might be pushing it, but he's been playing great. With Kelvin Joseph not getting playing time, how about Clark Phillips III out of Utah? Someone I think I'm higher on than most people. Really great play at Utah so far this year. I think going under the radar. Anthony Brown's a free agent. Jordan Lewis might be cut to make room for Deron Bland. But a number two corner, especially if you don't trust Kelvin Joseph right now, is needed. He and Trayvon Diggs would be such a fun duo. I'll put a QB in here. Tanner McKee out of Stanford. I don't love it. I'm not the biggest Tanner McKee fan, but I know he has real supporters around the NFL. And this is not what I would do, but trying to guess, even if it is in October, what I think the NFL might end up doing. No Anthony Richardson, by the way, because he should not go pro. But how many quarterbacks do you think end up going in round one in this year's NFL draft? Make those predictions for me right now in the comments section. Loaded edge rusher class next up here. Felix Anudike Uzama. The Kansas State edge, kind of, I think, flying under the radar in a loaded class this year. A lot of good Big 12 edges this year, too, and defensive linemen. I like him from Minnesota, who might not have Daniil Hunter. Kayshon Boutte, the LSU receiver, to be blunt, has been booty. It's been bad. He is not making an impact. Upside's there. He's been a big-time faller, though. Quentin Johnston out of TCU, one of my guys, has the size measurables that the Packers tend to like at wide receiver. You've got Dubs. You've got Christian Watson. Add more talent. Add more bodies there. You can even give Dubs and some slot receiver. I think Johnson can do some slot receiver stuff, too. So I know it's another premium pick at receiver. I'm begging you invest more at that spot, please. All right, there is no Dolphins first-round pick. There's earlier one from the 49ers from the trade. So that's forfeited because of the Sean Payton, Tom Brady stuff. So we skip 29, originally by Miami, and that becomes now Buffalo's pick. Antonio Johnson, Texas A&M safety. Fun piece, man. With some free agents coming up there, adding one there, I love it all the way. Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. Under the radar player, again, Big 12 player, not many of that edges that people respect there. I'm a big Wilson guy. I know they just took George Karlaftis. I'm not sure how much longer Frank Clark's going to be around. Add another one and have two young, dynamic pass rushers coming off the edge. The Eagles at 31. If they win the title, not that many needs. They never go linebacker early, but this is probably a good one to go for there. Noah Sewell out of Oregon. He was the best player left as far as I'm concerned, so I pencil him in to Philadelphia. I'm down a first-round spot. I hate it. There were more names I want to put in there. So be honest with me in the comments. Who am I leaving out of my 2023 NFL mock draft? Let me know right now in the comment section. I've got some special mentions for players I liked. I think Keandre Coburn has been playing great this year for Texas. Tyreek Stevenson, good year so far for Miami. Jared Verse, your number one biggest riser in the entire 2023 draft process here. Cedric Tillman, it's one of my guys from Tennessee. Very impressive there. Josh Downs out of North Carolina. Anthony Richardson from Florida as well. I don't think he should go pro, but there is a lot of upside, but he's not a fully developed prospect quite yet. All right, of your options, what are you going to choose? 1 for family, 2 for football. Family is winning in the pin poll. That certainly makes sense to me. Quick note, other names mentioned here, or Keely Ringo was included in that mock draft. Hendon Hooker, great name, free little homie. I don't know if Hooker's going to go round 1, but I liked him a lot last year. He's been even better this year. He will be, I think, a top 75, top 50 pick. I have been very impressed by Hooker, a completely different prospect than what we saw at Virginia Tech. So 64% voting family. Suppose that makes sense. Let me know in the comments which one you're going to choose. 1 for family, 2 for football. What'd you say, Jack? No. Yeah, some Vin Diesel's in there. Yeah, you're such a movie buff. All right, that is it for today's live show. Remember, folks, if you have not already, hit that big red button and subscribe at youtube.com/chatsportstv. Free videos and weekly live shows. The next live show, Sunday, NFL Red Zone, back once again.